Well, hello everyone. Reverend Carol here. And today, our story is about infinite possibilities. Do you know what the word infinite means? It means endless. And it goes on and on. So, this is about infinite possibilities. And our affirmation is, in each moment, there are infinite possibilities. Now, I'm going to affirm that 2 more times, and I hope you'll join with me. In each moment, there are infinite possibilities. In each moment, there are infinite possibilities. And the name of the story today is God's Little Workshop. Have you ever eaten peanut butter? Think about a peanut butter sandwich, or perhaps you like your peanuts sprinkled on ice cream. I know I do. Peanuts are nutritious and are used in cookies and other foods. Can you imagine making laundry soap from peanuts? Or hand lotion? Or printer's ink? What about shoe polish or glue or carpet? All of them are made from the peanut plant. Now, you may not be able to imagine making those things from peanuts, but there was someone who actually did. And he believed that there were infinite possibilities, even from peanuts. And his name was George Washington Carver. He was born a slave during a time when most black people who lived in America were enslaved. While he was a baby, the Civil War ended and he was free. His parents were no longer living, but the people who cared for George were loving and kind, and he learned a great deal from them. George loved to learn, and he found great joy in learning about plants. Many hours were spent in the woods each day, studying all the growing things and listening in his heart to what they would teach him. George felt that Spirit was talking to him through the plants. When he grew up, he said, "I love to think of nature as unlimited broadcasting stations through which God speaks to us every day, every hour, and every moment of our lives, if we will only tune in and remain so." George's neighbors and friends thought tending to flowers and plants a foolish waste of time, so George made a secret garden where he could care for the little plants he called his pets. He would carefully dig up the plants and move them to his garden if he thought they needed extra care. If he accidentally broke a root or stem, he would cry as if he hurt a friend. When people realized the plants that he cared for grew healthy and strong, they called George the plant doctor, and they would come from miles around to ask for his help. He wanted to keep learning, but there were no schools nearby, so he left his home at 11 years old to go to school. Even though some people thought he should become an artist or a singer, George eventually became a plant scientist, which is called a botanist. He spent as much time outside in nature as he did in the laboratory and classroom. George understood that it was not enough to work hard. He had to be open to what could happen through his efforts. So what about those peanuts? Why did George learn so much about peanuts? Well, the southern farmers had grown cotton plants for many years, but growing cotton every year wasn't healthy for the soil. Growing beans or peanuts gives tired soil the nutrients needed to stay healthy. George encouraged the farmers to grow peanuts and it worked really well. The soil became healthier and there were abundant crops. But when the farmers asked George what to do with all these peanuts, George had to think. He knew there were many possibilities, maybe infinite possibilities, if he were willing to work hard and let God's power flow through everything he did. He said, God is going to reveal to us things he never revealed before if we put our hands in his. The peanut is an unusual plant. Peanuts are really not like nuts that grow on trees. They are more closely related to beans. The plants have little yellow flowers that bloom and then bend over and grow back into the ground. The peanuts grow on the end of that stem, under the ground. Hidden from the sun, George worked a long time in the laboratory to learn everything he could about the unusual peanut plant. He shared everything he learned with the farmers and other scientists and became famous. Years later, after George had discovered over 300 uses for peanuts, a man asked him, Dr. Carver, how did you learn all these things? And George answered, from an old book. What book? The man asked. Well, the Bible, George replied. And the man was surprised and asked, does the Bible tell about peanuts? No, sir, George explains. But it tells about God who made the peanut. And I asked God to show me what to do with the peanut. And I was shown. George never took credit for his accomplishment. He said, without God to draw aside the curtains, I would be helpless. George felt that it was divine power that flowed through him in all creation. George was a great scientist who changed the world with his work. But he was humble and called his laboratory God's little workshop. George Washington Carver lived from 1864 until 1943. And all of the story, these words were taken from George. Now, peanut butter is made from the inside of the peanut. You know, what other parts of the peanut plant do you think George learned to use? Do you think it'd be fun to be a plant scientist or a botanist? And what do you think George meant when he said that God drew aside the curtains? Do you think that right now there are infinite possibilities for you? I do. And I think there's infinite possibilities for all of God's creation. Well, that's the end of the story today. I hope you enjoyed it and kind of reflect on it. Know that we here at Unity of Austin miss you and hope to see you soon. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Rich blessings.